We got game 4 tonight of the NBA Finals. And before we really get into this game, I have to share, this might be, for very different reasons, this might be the most fascinating, captivating finals I can remember since LeBron down 3-1. Different reasons.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I am really, really glued to this series. And I think, there's a bunch of different storylines. It's the MVP. It's kind of the cardiac kids in Indiana. It's style. For me, it's style.
The pacemakers.
The pacemakers.
You like that?
I do like that. I didn't love the Yes Sirs shirts.
Shout out the guys in the Ringer group chat, Justin Verrier. They solicited and they landed on the pacemakers.
But I like that a lot.
My submission was we could call them the military industrial complex because they're powered by Halliburton.
Government contracts. But I think it all boils down to its style of play. And maybe that's why I was so fascinated by that 3-1 LeBron team that came back, because their styles were so different. The Warriors were bringing us
the death lineup.
Yeah, the Warriors are bringing us this new style of play, which kind of dominated the league for 10 years. And I don't know if it's like we talked about this last time we were together, this new style of play that's kind of come along the last couple of years, but has really shown itself. I think that's why I'm watching basketball.
Yeah,
I'm watching
the
basketball.
Basketball's coming back, and like everybody tried to replicate the death lineup Warriors, and it's like nobody can replicate it because nobody else has the best shooter of all time on their roster, and then also maybe the 5th best shooter of all time in Klay Thompson. Oh, and maybe the best generational defender of an era in Draymond Green.
Top 5 all time, maybe.
Oh, and probably the best scorer in the history of the game in Kevin Durant.
You're by the way, we drafted all 3 of them in 2 years.
It's like, in Clay, Steph, and Ray. And it's like, you can't replicate that because you have the best of the best of the best doing what they do at their peaks. And then, we're going to put the most dominant efficiency level score in the history of the game and Kevin Durant in it.
Right.
Good luck.
Right. And you're absolutely spot on. You can't replicate it. But I think what we're seeing in this finals is, I think this is replicatable. Is it replicable?
Replicable. There you go. You got it.
A little bit of. I think you can do this.
You can. And
you do need a guy, and guys don't grow on trees.
No.
And you need a couple guys. There's a big 3 brewing in OKC. But that big 3 ain't getting the job done so far.
But they're all incredibly young. And I think where you're seeing the changes here that matter, they're happening. And this is like, anybody's ever listened to me for any period of time, you know how I feel about coaching in the NBA. It's not nearly as impactful as coaching, say, in the NFL.
Right.
It's you're not in the nuts and bolts of it to where you can force impact as much.
It's like Phil shared the secret with everyone. It's like you got to kind of let guys ball.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of
push right
them.
buttons. In like,
Kerr is great at it too.
Yeah, it's don't get me wrong. There's very significant X and O's things that happen that Carlisle and Dagnall have done, and I'm not taking away from that at all. But
Don't think you are.
But it's putting guys in the best positions, both mentally, emotionally, physically, but also and then like knowing how to like nudge them psychologically and kind of take advantage of certain things. Now, on the actual X's and O's things, like the things that the Pacers did different in Game 3, they got Tyrese Halliburton free, and they did that through.
And they had to.
And that was the thing is like you look at how many paint touches he had in the first couple of games, and he just wasn't able to get there, and he wasn't able to get a shot off. And the Pacers are now, I think it's 8-1 in the playoffs this year when Halliburton scores 20 or more. Because when he scores, again, we don't expect him to score 30 plus, 40 plus. That's not who he is. But when his scoring rises, so does his assists.
Well, and his teammates say that too. They're like, we got to get him going. And it's not necessarily, you're right, he's not a 30-point-a-night guy. SGA could drop 36 any game he plays.
He averages 34.
Yeah. And that's the kind of guy he is. That's the type of scorer he is. Hallie's just not that way.
Hallie's a diesel engine. Where you got to warm
He's
him
got
up.
Old school power point guard.
Yeah, no, he is. He gets guys going. And look, if you want to draw a Portland parallel, he's a lot like Dame in a sense of like Dame would end up with 30 on a given night, but it's because he's dropping 20 in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
So
because he had to.
I can't. God,
a lot of times it was because he had to.
I can't remember what show. Oh, it was Zach Lowe's show. He brought up a great point of like the difference between like a guy like Halliburton and a guy like Steve Nash and Chris Paul, and then a guy like Trae Young. Because when you're playing the Trae Young Hawks, when they go to the Eastern Conference Finals, stuff like that, it's 4 quarters of nothing but Trae Young pick and roll.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing the same thing for 4 quarters.
And him just muscling. It's a little old school ISO ball.
It's a lot of pick and roll, ISO heavy basketball. But by the 4th quarter, you've seen it 80 possessions.
You can eventually start to shut it down.
You can understand where they're trying to go with stuff. Dame always told me, he goes, the first 2 quarters, I'm usually trying to look at, okay, how are they playing this? What are they going to do this? I don't want to show them everything. So come fourth quarter time when we're right there, I've got 3, 4, 5 different things that I can go to as counters that I've set up all game long and I could go into. You look at a guy like Steve Nash, you look at a guy like Chris Paul. Those are the guys that I've said that Hallie is more like than anybody else.
I'm a big Jason Kidd guy. But I don't think he's like Kidd. I think you're
Kidd
right. He's more Paul.
Kidd was more of a power guard.
Right.
Whereas Nash and Paul, they weren't scorers. Even though both those guys are damn near 50, 40, 90 career shooters, which is like Hallie, they don't score for 3 quarters. But usually come fourth quarter, it's a 12, 15-point explosion of, I'm going to get by you, get to the elbow, pull up. I'm going to get by you, pull this 3. I'm going to get by you. And then now you're worried about me pulling off this screen. You're taking a step earlier. Yeet! And now I've got a wide open dunk on the backside. It's a cerebral level of game that a coach like Carlisle can really pull the strings with, of like how they unlocked Hallie by not only putting in more DHOs and more direct actions. They ran a lot more decoy actions on the backside, but they also moved Pascal Siakam out of the mid post and more to the nail in the middle of the floor, so that when they loaded up on it, now Hallie can scram out to the outside. And now Pascal's got 4 options when the defense is completely collapsed. And now you're in this kind of a bind of, I don't necessarily want to, hedge on this, but I have to. And if I do that, now Halliburton's able to walk into a shot, or Nesmith, or Nembhard, or whoever it is. And now the Thunder, which they've never been in really this season, they're in scramble mode. And like those are the things, like the coaches are like, Terry Stotts was great at optimizing like the top 3, 4 guys on his team offensively. That was what, like, the reason the Blazers had such an incredible offense, like, oh, it's this, that, or the other. It's like, no, he saw Dame and CJ, and then when he got Nurk, of like, that before Nurk got hurt, the Dame Nurk pick and roll was one of the best offenses in the entire league.
I mean, Nurk fever. Like, we remember how big that was?
If I remember right, the Dame Nurk pick and roll
felt like it was legit.
Oh, it was. They averaged like 1.22 points per possession, which over 100, that's 122 points.
That's great.
That's an insane level of offense. And so Terry goes, we're going to run this a lot, but we're going to run it in 18 different variations.
Yeah.
We're going to run some spread pick and roll.
So you can't pick up on it.
We're going to run some empty corner pick and roll. We're going to run some actions on the backside. Like, we're going to get Dame to his pet spots. And Carlisle does that probably better than any coach in the league, of like, we're going to have a package or a suite of things that we're going to do. And then, instead, like, they'll rearrange the order of how they're going to attack it and set it up. And then they'll add a little spice to it. Like, okay, instead of doing this with this, we're going to do this. And you think we're going to run, this, flare screen on the backside, but it's the third thing in 5 different machinations, and they're only, 8 seconds into the shot clock. And you're like, oh crap, what else is coming?
And we've got 15 seconds still to go here.
Yep. And that's like, they're just flying. And
that's
going
the pace we keep talking about.
Yeah. It's not just how fast they get down the court. It's how fast they get into their offense and how fast they get everything going while in the offense. It's not a Hoosiers thing or a triangle offense where it's very methodical and this, that, and the other. It's chaos, but it's very, very structured.
Controlled chaos. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking head, the best player in the finals right now has been SGA. I mean, no doubt about it. When the fourth quarter comes around, best player is Tyrese Halliburton. And don't be, if Indiana does go on to win this, kind of what you were talking about, that Hallie-Siakam combo, he's the key to me. Because if you free up, like you were just saying, when you can free up Halliburton, you're not just freeing up Halliburton, you're freeing up Pascal Siakam. Yeah, you've got those guys on the perimeter that can hit shots, but Siakam, we saw it in Toronto, helped win a title for them in that. Like, he can adapt, he can mold, he can move around, he's athletic for his size. And you're right, it has put OKC on their heels. And this is where the coaching comes back into it. Is there a way that the coaching staff can adapt to that? Or is Carlisle going to just keep reinventing this until the buzzer sounds on a game 4 win? Or on a 4th win of the series, and then it's over.
And that's the crazy thing.
Can they catch up?
And that's the thing tonight. This game, we talked about going to game 3. Did the Pacers have to win it when Dusty was in on Wednesday? And I was like, I think they have to, because they need to put the pressure on OKC and make them really feel it. Because if
They haven't looked good with pressure.
no, and that's where the youth comes into play. It's not like the Pacers are this incredibly experienced team,
Agreed.
but you do have some veteran play in Miles Turner, who's been there for a decade. You do have Pascal Siakam, who, even though he wasn't the biggest piece, he was in year 3 in Toronto, knows what it's like to be in those pressure situations and win a title. Hallie has a level of mental stability and toughness that has resonated literally to multiple game-winning shots. The team has had multiple game-winning shots. They don't know how to die. And there's something about, like, if all of a sudden the pressure starts to build, and these are the things that you can't account for, that if the Pacers can push those buttons, now all of a sudden you get to see what this young OKC team's made of.
Well, was it Jalen Williams? We'll get out on this. Was it Jalen Williams who said when he was mic'd up, he said something, I could be getting this all wrong, but I swear there was an OKC player who said something like, they're down 11 going into the fourth quarter and they're comfortable.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary, especially on a team that's not dominant Steph Clay,
No.
Durant, Iguodala, Wiggins, whatever your cast of characters are. I've never seen a team down 11 without the firepower of some of those teams we've mentioned feel like, oh, we got this.
I mean, if you look
Because basketball is a game of runs, but in the fourth quarter in the NBA Finals, you can't rely on yourself going on a run. It's almost like they don't rely on themselves; they just know they will.
They just know they can, and you've seen it play out, because through these 3 games, in the second half, the Pacers are outscoring the Thunder by 20 points overall.
In the 3 games combined?
In 3 games combined, they are outscoring the Thunder by 20 in the second half.
Do you have Hallie's points versus?
I can pull up their
I mean, game 2 is probably going to skew it a little bit.
But they make adjustments. Here's the thing. We have yet to see, I think, the best version of either team play their best game yet.
I'd agree. And it's still been captivating basketball,
Yes.
which is probably why, going back to my original point, why I'm so fascinated.
I want to see what both these teams look like when they're like, it's rare that it happens, but I want to see both these teams going at it. I want to see a game where OKC is humming like they are to start games, because they've been very good starting games, whether it's hitting shots or being disruptive in game 1, getting 19 turnovers. But we have yet to see the Pacers really fly around in the first half. Can we get a game where both these teams are humming in both halves and have it come down? Like, you don't have to expend all the energy either side to make a comeback or anything along those lines. Just have this be a nail biter from opening tip to the final horn, and then in the final 2 minutes, what happens?